Okay, so the next question, question 12, was all about ratios. So with this question, we've got 5 schools. So it's worth just writing down any information that's going to help you later on in the question. So one of the schools sent both boys and girls. So we've got boys and girls going from this one school. And they sent 16 boys. Now the ratio of the number of boys to girls it sent was 1 to 2. So if the ratio of boys to girls was 1 to 2, and they sent 16 boys, that means that one part was 16. So therefore 2 parts is going to be 32. So in total, this school here sent 48 students. The question then goes on to say that the other 4 schools sent only girls. Each of the 5 schools sent the same number of students. So the first school here sent 48 students. Then the other schools sent the same number of students. The fact that it says that they sent only girls is there to try and trick you and put you off. So if each school sent 48 students and there's 5 schools, you're going to need to do 5 times 48. Now there's a quick way of doing that, and to multiply something by 5, you times it by 10, and then halve it. So 10 lots of 48, you should be able to tell quite easily or quite quickly is 480. So 5 lots of 48, it's going to be half of that, which is 240, and that gives you the 4 marks for this question. Question 3 wasn't done particularly well, and you had to work out the size of angle X. But it's not that bad a question, and it was worth 3 marks. So what we do with this question is we've got here angles around a point. Now we should all know that angles in a square are going to be right angles. So this one here is 90 degrees, and these two here are pentagons. So if we could figure out what one of these angles is, because it's a regular pentagon, it means that they're all the same. So if we could figure out what one of these angles is here, that's going to be the same as this angle, which is going to be the same as this angle. And then we know all the way round the point makes 360 degrees. So the key to this question is to figure out what this angle is here, or this angle is here. So one thing that we do, or that we should know, is that an exterior angle, and if you don't know this, this is what you need to remember more than anything else. An exterior angle is 360 degrees divided by the number of sides. So right here we've got a pentagon, and the exterior angle is going to be that there. So this angle here is going to be 360 divided by the number of sides, which in this case is 5. And you can work this out in whichever way you want, so use chunking method if you wish, or you could do 360 divided by 5. So 5s into 3 don't go, so we carry the 3 over. 5s into 36 go 7 times, with 1 left over. 5s into 10 go twice. So therefore this angle here is 72 degrees. Therefore making the angle the other side of it, because angles on a straight line add up to 180, is 180 minus 72 degrees. 180 minus 72 is 108 degrees. So now what we have, if we tidy this up over here, is we have this at 90, we know that this is 108, and we know that this is 108. So we've got 108 plus 108 plus 90, and if we add that up, that's 16, so 6 carry the 1, that's going to be 10 carry the 1, is 306. So our value of x here makes it add up to 360, so therefore that is going to be 54 degrees. Okay, the next question was question 14. Now, in my group, in my 11Y2, some people did this quite well, but other people dropped marks. So the first thing to do is be able to complete the cumulative frequency table. Now these questions are A-grade questions, but they are doable. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the cumulative frequency table. Now cumulative sounds like the word accumulate, and if you accumulate things, you go along and you pick things up as you go. So as we go down the table, the first frequency for 100 to 200 is exactly the same as this one here. So we're going to write in the table, we're going to write 8. Then as we go down through the table, we pick up another 15. So 8 plus 15 is 23. Then we pick up another 30. So 23 plus 30 is 53. We then pick up another 17, so that's 63, 70. We then pick up another 7, so add another 7 on, we get 77. Then finally pick up the extra 3, and we get 80. That's only worth 1 mark, but an extra mark here and there really does make up the difference. So then what I want you to do, is that's your first mark for that question, so that one's done. I then want you to circle these numbers, and then circle this part of the table. So you go down, you circle 23, you circle the right hand column here. 53, 400, 70, 500, 77, 600, and 80 and 700. And then what you do is you plot them on this graph here. So you go across to the weekly wage, which is on the x-axis, so go across to 200 and then up to 8. Across to 200, up to 8. Mine might be a little bit inaccurate because of the pixelation of the graph, but you get the general idea. So the next thing you want to do is you go across to 300, then up to 23. So across to 300, up to 23. And then you go across 53, up to 400. Sorry, across 400, up to 53. Then you go across to 500, up to 70. Go across to 600, up to 77. Go across to 700, up to 80. And if you've done it right, usually what will happen is that this will look like a nice, smooth S-curve. And if ever you have a quiz in the future, this is also called an ogive curve. An ogive curve. Okay, so that's your 2 marks for drawing the cumulative frequencies. That's 3 marks on an A-grade question. Then you've got to use your graph to find an estimate for the interquartile range. Now, interquartile range, the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to split it down into quarters. If you find it easier, you could do the mean as well. Sorry, the median as well. So here we go. That's what I was looking for. So if we've got 80 pieces of data, halfway, so the median is going to be at 40. So what we do is we go across from 40 to our graph, and then we read down. So this question doesn't ask that, but our median there would be about 350. The lower quartile is you go across a quarter of the way, and then you read down. So you'll be able to do it a lot more accurately than I can on this, but roughly my lower quartile is 300. So we've got this here, which is 1/4. Oh. So we've got this here, which is 1/4. We've got a half. So we need to find 3/4. So 3/4 will be here at 60, because it's going up 20, 40, 60. So go across to 3/4. So go across to your graph, and then go straight down. And then that looks to me like 440. So my interquartile range would be 440 take away 300. So the interquartile range means the upper quartile take away the lower quartile. 440 take away 340, I'm getting 140. But if you get it close to that, then you're going to get the mark. So when you do this, you might get something slightly different. Okay, the final question, question D, is usually we have to find an estimate for the number of workers with a weekly wage of more than 530. So what we need to do here is we need to find 530 along the bottom. So 530 is about here. Okay, here we go. So 530 is roughly here. We then go up to the graph, and then read across from the graph. I've got 71. Abby might have slightly different. So the thing that's above 530 is going to be this much here. So I've got 9 remaining. So my answer will be 9, and yours might be slightly different. That's how you do that question. And being able to do that is 7 marks, which is a huge amount of marks to get on this question. Question 15. So this one, my one won't look the same as your ones because I can't measure anything on this screen. But what we need to do is, we need to take this 1 point at a time. So the first mark was for Jen wants to plant a tree at least 5 meters from point C. So what we need to do for this is we need to get a set of compasses, and we need to open them up to 5 centimeters. Once you've done that, you need to put your compass point on point C, and you then need to draw a circle with a measurement of 5 centimeters. Around there, and that's going to be our first mark. Now the next thing, it says that it's got to be closer, so for this point here, got to be closer to AB than AD. Now AB is this line up here, AD is this line here. So if we're getting closer to this line than this line, we've got to draw a line which cuts it in half. Then everything on this side of the line is going to be closer to AB. Everything on this side of the line here is going to be closer to AD. But what we've got to do is we've got to draw in this dotted line so that it splits it in half. And it's just a matter of seeing enough of these questions, or seeing this question enough times, that you remember what to do. But if you've got 2 lines, AB and AD, and you've got to find a locus of points, or you've got to find an area which is closer to one wall than the other wall, you've got to bisect that angle. Now the angle I'm talking about is you've got the wall AB and you've got AD, so we're talking about this angle here. So we've got to bisect that, and the way we do that is we put our compass point, let's see if we can do this, put our compass point on the angle, and we can open up our compasses to any length, it doesn't really matter. But what we've got to do is we've got to do an arc on this line. I've got to do an arc on this line here. So once we've done that, we've got 2 arcs. We've got one here and we've got one here. The next thing we do is we put our compass point on those marks, and we draw another arc here. We put our compass point on this one here, and we do an arc that then crosses that. Once we've done that, we've got a cross there. And from that point, we then join this point that we've just made to the starting point. Oh, that's not what I was after doing. Apologies. We join the centre here so that it goes through the cross that you've just made. Now the mark, so I know it's taken a long time on this, but it should be a little bit easier with your pair of compasses in your hands. Now that's 2 bits done already. And now the next thing we do is we have got to do this third bit here. So it's got to be less than 3 meters from DC. So the line DC is down the bottom here. So that's DC down there. So what we do is we measure 3 meters up or 3 centimeters up from here. Measure 3 centimeters up from here. And then we draw a line. So we draw the line that goes through those 2 points. Now everything below this line is going to be less than 3 meters from DC. Everything above that line is going to be more than 3 meters. So now what we've got to do is we've got to shade the region where Jane can plant the tree. So it's got to be at least 5 meters from point C. So it's got to be beyond this arc here. It's also got to be nearer to AB than AD. So it's got to be on this side of the line. It's also got to be less than 3 meters from DC. So it's got to be this side of this line. So the area that represents, it's going to be this area here. Now everything in this area obeys all 3 of these points here. Now the good thing about this question is that even if you don't get 4 marks, by knowing that you've got to draw an arc which is at least 5 meters from point C, you get 1 mark for this bit here. The hardest part is the second bit here, nearer to AB than AD. But for this second mark, you've got to make sure that you've got this construction line, this construction line. You've got to get these 2 construction lines or construction arcs. You've then got to draw the line going from point A up here through this point here and just carry your line on. That's your second mark. Your third mark is for getting this line here. Then your fourth mark is for shading the correct region here. It's not necessarily the most straightforward question, but once you've done a couple of them, it is very, very easy. But that one, you just need to do 3, 4 questions in revision, and then you've got it nailed. Okay, question 16. We've got to write 8.2 times 10 to the power of 5 as an ordinary number. So this is standard form. So what we do is we write 8.2, and there's a couple of ways of doing this. Now, the way I've always done it is 8.2, then stick a bunch of zeros on. And I use this as my line of workings. Now, because it's times 10 to the power of 5, the decimal point has gone from this point here 5 places in this direction. So I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which brings it there. So the answer should be 8.2 and then 4 zeros. However, when I went through this with my class, one of the students actually said to me a better way to do this. And the way to do that is to have the 8, and then you need to have 5 numbers after the 8. So it just so happens that one of them is going to be the 2, and then you've got 2, 3, 4, 5 other numbers. The next question, we've got 0.000376. So we've got to write that in standard form. Now, standard form always looks like the same process. It's something point something times 10 to the power of something. Now, what we do with that is the first thing we've got to do, this something point something has to be a number between 1 and 10. So if this is the number that we've got to translate into that form, the number that's going to be between 1 and 10 is going to be 3.76. Now, the easy way, or the shortcut way to do this, is to write times 10 to the power. Now, because it's a decimal, it's going to be minus, and what we do is we have 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, so it's going to be 10 to the power of minus 4. Question C, we had to work out 2.3 times 10 to the power of 12 divided by 4.6 times 10 to the power of 3. Now, the way we do this, the first thing we do is we divide these numbers. So we divide 2.3 divided by 4.6. We've then got to multiply it by 10 to the power. Now, the way we work out what the power is because we've got this divided by here, we do 12 take away 3. So that's going to be, 12 take away 3 is going to be 9. So it's going to be times 10 to the power of 9. However, that's not the final answer because we can't leave it as 2.3 divided by 4.6. So this goes back to how to divide with decimals. So if we've got 4.3, no, sorry, if we have 2.3 divided by 4.6, one thing about dividing with decimals is that I hate doing it, so I tend not to. So what we could do is we could times the top by 10 and times the bottom by 10. As long as we do the same to the top as we do to the bottom, it doesn't actually affect the answer. So we do that, and we get 23 over 46, which we can then simplify that fraction to 1 over 2. Now one thing that you should know is a half equals 0.5. So when we rewrite this answer, it's going to be 0.5 times 10 to the power of 9. Now again, it's still not in standard form yet, because this number here isn't between 1 and 10. So what we need to do is we need to make this number bigger. So we move it over by 1 decimal place, so it's going to be 5. But to compensate for that, if we make this number bigger, we've got to make this power smaller. So it's going to be 5 times 10 to the power of 8. Okay, the last question in this video is question 17, and that's 4x minus 1 over 5 plus x plus 4 over 2, and that equals 3. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to completely forget about this 3. So we'll deal with that a little bit later, but we're going to forget about it for the first mark. So the first thing we're going to do is, just like we do with any fractions, we're going to cross multiply. So we need to do 2 lots of this, and we need to do 2 lots of this. So to get my mark for workings, I'm going to have 2 lots of 4x minus 1. And I'm going to have 2 lots of 5, which is 10. I'm then going to do cross multiply, so I'm going to do 5 lots of this, I'm going to do 5 lots of that. So it's going to be 5 lots of x plus 4, and it's going to be 5 lots of 2, which is 10. That's going to be worth 1 mark. You've then got to multiply out the brackets, so we get 2x minus 8 over 10 plus 5x plus 20 over 10, which if we simplify that, 2x plus 5x is 7x, minus 8 plus 20 is going to be plus 12. So we get 7x plus 12 over 10. And that's what we get if we simplify the left-hand side. However, I've told us to forget about the equals 3 on this side because we haven't done anything with it yet. So what we do is we now bring that back in. Once we've simplified the algebraic fractions, we bring that back in. So we've got 7x plus 12 divided by 10 equals 3. And now this just turns into, not a basic, but turns into a slightly easier algebraic question. So what we want to do is we want to get rid of this 10. So because it's divided by 10, we do the opposite. So we get 7x plus 12 equals 30. The next thing we do is we get rid of this plus 10 by taking it away. So we're going to have 7x equals 18. The final step is to divide through by 7. So we get x equals 18 over 7. And that is our final answer, but I've mucked up this question. Okay, ignore this last question. I'm going to put that on the start of the next video.